my red wine playlist.
Welcome to Ball with Bill. I want to thank Sideline Power and Sports Boards for doing this and sponsoring Ball with Bill. We're going to talk about a good friend of mine today. His name is Scott Strohmeier. He's the head football coach at Iowa Western. Known him a long time since he was assistant coach at Concordia up there in St. Paul, Minnesota. And we've been good friends through his travels at Truman and here at Iowa Western. Besides Scott being such a great coach and a very, very good recruiter, he's a good man and a humble and a great teacher. And what you're going to see on the board is just his base today, but he's very knowledgeable, and if you ever need anything and want to talk to him, please give him a call. He's a great coach and a good man, and I've always enjoyed him and the time we've been together. Thanks, Coach. Hey, we're back here on the board with Coach Strohmeier. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his offensive philosophy, the things he does, and what makes him such an outstanding offensive coach. And kind of give us the base on your base formation, where you start at, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, we base everything out of 11. Like right now, we used to probably be more 10 personnel, but we're getting some 11 personnel stuff now. We're just using a tight end. So our tight end 2x2 set is probably we're always in the gun, but it's probably our base. And then obviously you can get into 3x1 with 11 personnel, and we'll even run some empty. We're getting into 12 personnel a little bit more we have, and part of that's because we got some tight ends, you know, and that's a hard position to find sometimes, but with how we utilize them, they don't need to be the 6'5", 260 pound.
What do you look for in your tight end?
You know,
230, 220?
Yeah, I mean, ideally I'd like them bigger, but I mean, most time.
I mean, they are getting bigger. There's some out there that are 6'7". I mean, they're getting.
For sure.
Because a lot of these basketball players realize they can't go any farther than college, and so they're coming out playing tight end.
Yeah, so we're getting, I mean, we'd have probably anywhere from 6'2" to 6'6", and we've been from 215 to 240, you know. But like I said, the big thing, we're not lining up running, like needing them to run power necessarily, like they're getting into space. They got to be athletic, you know.
What are you looking for 40-wise for those kids?
I don't get too caught up
10,
in that stuff.
I should probably say the 10.
Yeah, you know, we test on flying 10s and things like that. But,
yeah.
I've never been I don't test 40s when they're here.
You never do?
I don't anymore. And
you just do the 10s and 20s?
And part of the reason why is you got a kid who runs a 4.5, and then a kid who runs a 4.7, and you always want to try to get the 4.5 kid the ball, but the 4.7 kid's just as good of a football player, if not better. So I don't like to say, oh, you're not fast enough or whatever. Now, do we want
10s
speed?
or 20s are probably more important.
Yeah.
And agility, pro agility is probably important.
Yep.
What do you see defensively mostly that people try to stop? What's the number one thing they do that you can kind of think you see week in and week out?
Well, the last couple of years has been, we're seeing so much odd front now, where they'll have, you know, the 3-4, some type of quarters coverage or whatever it may be. So a lot more odd front, where maybe 4 years ago we didn't hardly see any odd front.
Everybody's eating.
But now all we're doing, everybody's blitzing us and blitzing us and blitzing us. And so the game's going back to more man and cover 3, where before it was all quarters or too
In
high.
high school, it's quarters and too high all the
And
time.
we still play a lot of too high stuff, but we're seeing a lot more, one safety look where they can play cover 3 and cover 1.
I like that.
Yeah,
I mean, as long as you can get everything picked up,
and
because you know where everybody is.
the teams we play against in junior college, they're really good athletes, so they find corners and they cover them and they're man.
You're right.
And then they blitz us but maybe very few. Now this next year, because we played the last 2 seasons, and the most teams that we played against they were in the odd front stuff, but we'll see a lot more even front next year, I'm guessing.
Why is that?
Just with the schools that we're going to play.
What's your base call? The one you go to start the game, or just to see what everybody's doing, or what? What do you like? Are you still read option big, or what do you?
Yeah, we'll do some read option. It's more probably an RPO system now.
Yeah.
And against our defense, we'll see a lot of different things. But we're split zone is a pretty staple of our offense. So reading a second level or third level defender, it might be we're running, we call it the 4 grass, where he can go vertical or he can break it off. And this guy just runs a hitch. So we can read it at a defender, we can read a backside, front side, we can read a safety. That's probably more so than true read option that we used to do. We still run it, the zone read option stuff. But
So you're reading that linebacker out there.
Yeah,
first?
depending on the defensive schemes that we are. So we're going to block these 5 or we can even push it out and have him on the end and read him. Like our defense is more of a 4 down.
Mm-hmm.
So we see this one all the time. We get more of a 1 backer box type because we're basing it out of a too high look.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll read
Read the
him,
linebacker.
you know what I mean? And so
if he blitzes, it's gone now.
yeah, we'll check, we'll throw it, really kind of get a feel. We'll run single side sometimes where he's kind of running, we call it a skinny, but it's not a post. He can flatten it off, and so we may read a second level defender, safety one.
Even on the RPO.
Mm-hmm.
Does that take more time, or?
Not really. Because a lot of times they're aggressive, you know what I mean? These safeties are in trying to get into the run fit.
That's kind of cool. I didn't know you moved to second line. I knew a lot of the first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah, we do
and it doesn't take any more time then.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this question: what do people do that you worry the most to take some of this away? What would what type of thing would they do? If I'm playing you, what do I need to do to stop you that make you worry a little bit?
Well, I'll say this: going in some of the games this season, there's some what I would say would be unsound. 2 guys in the same gap and blitzing them, and that gave us a little bit of fits because we're trying, like our kids, we want them to know what they're supposed to do. Well, you go into a game and how are you supposed to tell them, like, well, this shouldn't be able to. But what happens is we get big plays out of it. So they may stop us, but then bang, you're going to bring 2 in the same gap. We're going to go. I used to.
Is that unsound?
Oh yeah. And sometimes I'm guessing it's not their scheme, it's this kid's
Just messing up?
Yeah. But maybe 3 years ago I didn't want to see as much man coverage, just because it took us out of some of our read option stuff. Where now with our option game in the pass game, I think I want to see man coverage and I want to see blitz, just because then that's where we can get some of our playmakers.
Right. Do you still screen versus those blitzes a lot? Your quick screens?
Not
you used
a little
to.
bit, yes. Not near as much as maybe we used to do it, and part of that is because the man cover. So when I say the screen game, it turned into the.
I'm talking the quick screen, the jet or whatever.
And so we do a lot of that type of stuff, a little bit still, but not the true like. Back in the day, the man beater was the wide receiver screen.
Right.
And, I don't see too many teams running it anymore. Part of it takes a long time to rep it and to get good at it in that true screen game. So it's more of the bubble screens and
the quick, when we call the jet, when they come inside, you kick the guy out, and he comes up in the alley.
We call it smoke screens.
Smoke, smoke. You never get in a game and kick yourself and go, gosh dang, why did I prepare for that? Do you ever get in that game like that anymore?
No, I think.
Or they surprise you?
We've had some of that, but again, I think that's where you have to be prepared, and that's why you have to have some of your calls that, like for me, I'm gonna look through and say, okay, if they're showing multiple looks, what's good into all of the looks, and that's your base stuff. And then we'll tweak and add and do some different things. But when you're playing fast and you're with tempo, you don't have time to be, okay, this time they're in this defense, so let's run this. And the next time, so the calls are coming in and you got to go. But that's where kind of we slowed things down a little bit at times, where now we can look over and coordinator upstairs can change the play based on
what the front and coverage, what do you see?
Yep.
You're going super fast, that's hard to do.
No. Well, and the rule of thumb there was, before I went to the spread stuff, you always wanted to make sure you had numbers. You always want to make sure that you got a hat for a hat.
You and I were one of the first guys that started this huddle stuff.
And then then it went to the fast, the Chip Kelly Oregon days, where, hey, we're going to go fast. You may have an extra guy. You're going to get us, but the next time you're going to be one guy short, and we're going to go the distance.
Distance, yeah. Score, what would you call it?
Oh.
You needed to go down when is it still the 4, or what would you do now?
Well,
Since you changed the time, if you got to get a big play.
I mean, I think there's so many variations off of the four vertical game, and that's one area that we're trying to get to do it a little bit more. But I'd like to, and I'm drawing up, and we can have a tight end, and this could be a tight end, but into a spread set where I want to make sure that I can potentially have my single guy an opportunity. So we work a lot of what I call high point back shoulder fades, and so we can beat them and go. We can throw the thing back shoulder, do whatever. But what's happening now, we're trying to get this guy here to collect the near safety to the backside safety if they're in some type of quarters coverage.
Gotcha.
Okay. This guy's going to get on the toes of the corner and just try to stay as skinny as he possibly can. And then we are going to take this guy and we're going to wheel him out to the outside. We can get him to where he's up the middle. Okay. We can switch these two, and then we're always going to put. So you're hearing it a lot in the NFL now. 4 strong. You're trying to get the 4th receiver to the strong side. So like against our defense in a quarters type look, this guy right here is the one who's going to make the decision for us, because does he turn and run? He turns and runs with them, then we end up having to throw it to the back. But a lot of times we'll swipe this guy in motion just to alert him a little bit. We throw this little screen to the running back and block all of these guys. But some type of 4 vertical look, because we have things that now we can fall out on these outside ones as well. And this guy now has a 6 grass, so he can go, anything. So it's a different play, but there's variations off of the vertical package. Now we're even doing it where you'll see like the Chiefs. I drew it up in the Canadian Football League there where we had.
I thought we had an extra guy.
But to where we're going to get into some type of where he's going to be there on this post, and we're going to try to. So that was a Tyreek Hill, and this is a Travis Kelce right there. Still send the back there, and I'll bring this guy back across to get your 5th guy. So again, we're trying to.
That's really, major club. They run the heck out of that.
Yeah, that's their. If you got a guy that can run that route there, it's
a big guy, especially because it controls that middle. Yeah, yep. It's still based off the old, the verts, and you can do all this stuff off of it.
Yep. And we got away from just verticals. In 2x2, we'll do it where we'll switch them, same thing, post wheel type stuff.
Well, because you're messing on the deep paths when you do that, and you actually make them work harder.
Yeah,
which is good.
But now with man coverage and things like that, now you got to change it.
Now you hope you can lose them in the switch up.
Well, and the thing like we do now is we got a little concept that we're giving this slot an opportunity where he can sit it down, he can work out, he can work in, he can go vertical. and you're seeing the NFL do this type of stuff as well. You know, the Rams, you know, it's just little option routes, you know, so in man coverage, you got to beat her, in zone coverage, you got to beat her, and it's playing basketball is essentially.
Versus man is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Just sit it down, we'll throw it to you, run it out, run it in, you're hot. So we try to do some of that type of stuff where.
How much time does it take to, you know, the throwback fade, when you run the fade? And,
We work
I
every
mean,
day.
I mean, well, that's so much time between the quarterback and the receiver.
And we've been really good at it some years, we've been not so good at it some years, and it all stems down to the quarterback. You know, but we work it every day, just trying to give them a chance. Because again, you're not just going to run by people and throw it. You know, I don't want that ball. I want that ball to be 16, 15 to 18 yards. You know, now if we get more than that, that's great because you beat them. But otherwise, we're not trying to. You know.
Yeah, it's not like because these corners are pretty dang tough, and that's what I'm saying. When you see people throw that backside fade, that's when they do it and do it well. That's great timing.
Yeah.
Because he's got to know when to go back, and him and the quarterback almost have to be on that inner sync mentally.
When we had Jake Waters, he was as good as I've ever had doing it, and he was just really accurate with it, and gave him an opportunity to make a play.
Yeah, you've done very well. I want to ask you one more. If you're down, like let's say, what are your main things you try to do in a game to get back in a game when you're down?
Well, I think you can't change. You can't necessarily. I think what happens is people press. They try to press, and you got to get like we're down 21 or whatever in the title game. There's no, you got to get one touchdown in the first. You know what I mean? And
right.
You got to stop them to get another. So I think. Now it depends if you're late in the game or how many possessions and the analytics stuff. But I wouldn't stray too far off of what your game plan is, because that's what you prepared for all week. And sometimes as offensive guys, like I said, you feel a little bit pressed, and once you start getting away from what you do best or trying to dial up this one, now you're not going to be very successful. And I think the kids have to be confident in the play as well. I think that's the number one thing. I can drop some really good plays, but if you're my quarterback and you don't feel comfortable with that play, and I'll ask the quarterbacks throughout the week, how do you think of this? What do you think of this? And if they don't give me a solid answer, then I'm not too confident in
in calling it a game.
Yeah.
Are there things that worry you more than other? You know what I'm saying? When you look, because if you don't protect the quarterback, you can't throw off his back.
For sure.
I mean, so is there teams that give you a little more direction where you worry more about protection to quarterback or not?
Yeah, I mean, as like I said, as a quarterback, and you want to throw the ball, and you get, I don't care what they're in, I like this play, you figure out how to block it. And my O-line coach, or Coach Coling, he's one of the first O-line coaches I've been around that likes 5-man protection and is okay with it. You know what I mean? Because you're always, there's 5 guys protecting, we're going to throw it hot type of thing. But and we have 5-man pro, we have a 6-man pro. If we have to, we can get a 7-man, we can max pro it, if we get a matchup. So I think that's one thing that he's brought to just coming here, just some multiple protections and changing it up.
Which is good, yeah.
Because what happens is, like, you can scheme a protection defensively, third down or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
We're getting pretty multiple, with our protections, but a lot of quick stuff. I think that's where I felt
get that ball out of his hand.
we went some time where we weren't extremely efficient in the quick game, and I mean, everybody runs the same stuff in the quick game, but I think we've added some,
nice little wrinkles
to get the ball out of your hands quick, and letting these kids, like I said, play basketball, just get open.
Yeah. Bob, I know you're a genius, but I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
My name's Ryan Thompson. I'm the head coach of Ashland Greenwood here in Nebraska, home of the Blue Jays. We've been using sideline products for a long time now, and they include the Bigfoot, end zone camera, headsets, the laser downs, and the Sky Coach. And we went through Sideline Power because they are the best in the business at getting us what we need on time. And at the game, it just takes us to another level with their products. We feel like we are a step ahead in some situations I definitely would recommend Sideline Power to anyone that would come through looking for new headsets, refurbished headsets, or anything that's going to enhance your game on Friday night.
We're back here with a little story time with Ball Bill. First of all, before we finish up, I want to thank Sideline Power for sponsoring us at Sports Boards. Thank you very much, and thanks, Scott, for bringing us out here today. This is awesome, being out here on the campus and doing this with you. Yeah. Well, I got to know Scott, and he can fill in any of this stuff too. We used to travel. What was that called down in Florida? Gauntlet, or what used to go to all those big events and recruit. You were at Concordia, and I was at Dana. What was it? It had a run. It was like a run. We used to call it because
it was like counties. They planned it out really good.
Yeah, they did.
I think we started in Miami-Dade County.
Yep.
You're there for 2 days, and then you go to the next county, and then you're there for 2 days, and you could spend a week for sure.
We were there a week.
Yeah, it was.
And we always tabled next to him. We had some Concordia because Jim was good friends with Shannon. And that's how I got to know him. And we became good friends, and we talked football and we recruit. You know, either way, I had a table before him, and I would talk, give my spiel, and he just want to tell you that me and Dana we're D2, you know. So he always threw that line in on me. So when we get a kid on it once in a while, he'd call me up and he'd say, "Hey Bill, what'd you do? Come on, what'd you do under the table? Be honest. We're D2, you know. You're NAIA." But it was fun because we traveled a lot. We'd go out after go out, have some malt beverages and talk and visit. We talked a lot of football. A lot of napkins got used.
Oh yeah.
Explaining stuff what he was doing and what we were doing, and we always it was a blast. But that run, man, we were there 6 days.
And it was not.
And it was nonstop. You were recruiting all 6 days. I mean, they just bring these kids in.
I still remember the first one that I was at, and so we were new to it.
That
We
was
were
my
the only
first year.
D2 in there, right? So we go to all these tables and talk to all back then VHS
Right.
tapes. You had
They
to
had
watch.
VHS tapes. That's right. I forget that. Yeah.
And then we get all these names, and then the next day the kids would come. I didn't remember
You tried to match them up with the tape. It was like a Chinese jigsaw
Yes,
puzzle.
it was, and I came back, and I had a stack of cards.
Yeah.
And we kind of figured out afterwards that if there was a kid that we were really interested in, we'd put his name on a business card, and then after that, then he would go back with Shannon, and then I would sit there and talk to every kid that came to our table and fill out a card, and just trying to sort through it. So many kids that were looking.
You wouldn't
for
believe all the kids that showed up at these fairs.
Yeah.
They come out of the woodworks.
Yeah, it was.
You're right. We did. That's what we eventually. We did the same thing you did. Jim went in the back, and then I'd sit in the back to talk to Jim, and I'd talk to the rest of them. Because one would go to our table and go right next to him. I mean, it was that fast, and there'd be another one coming.
Yeah.
You gave your spiel about what 200 times a day.
I know. And then if you didn't know, like, could have been a really good player, could have been one that maybe you weren't so interested in, but I didn't know. I couldn't remember.
You could remember all the VHS tapes, yeah.
And then we'd bring those VHS tapes. I don't know if we brought a VCR.
Did we go back to the room though, so I can look at it?
Yes, yeah.
That's where we had some beverages
Yes.
and talked about it.
And then I don't remember if we brought a VHS or got it from the hotel or whatever.
Or something, but I remember sitting in the room watching those tapes so we could figure out who we actually talked to that day.
And then who
we really wanted to, continue on recruiting. And then you go back home and you recruit the heck out of them and try to get them to visit.
And that was February, so we already went through signing day.
Yeah, because we didn't have signing day because I didn't, yeah.
And so, I mean, it's kind of like you never stop recruiting, but nowadays, after signing day, you got a few spots, but then you're really looking at your next year's class. And I still remember we recruited for that class the entire year.
Yeah, we did too.
And then when the season started, then we did the new class.
Yeah, that's what we did. That's how we did it back then too.
Non-stop, and the thing about back then, though, you could find it. If you could outwork some people. You're going to go to the small town in Nebraska and get this kid no one knows about.
Right.
Those days are gone.
Are they?
So So I still remember Shannon telling me, like, go in and uncover under every rock. When I recruited Southern Minnesota, and
Nebraska, Iowa, you can find a small town, you can find a gem.
For sure. And nowadays with social media, Huddle, the Twitter, kids will put, I'll watch a kid from, wherever, Virginia, and we don't recruit that. If I see it on social media, we'll watch it, like him, follow him, or whatever it is. But so I think
that's really changed.
I don't want to use the word lazy, but some coaches maybe don't have to go get out on the road and travel. I mean, you remember those car trips in the middle of the night, and you weren't spending the night all the time. You were driving back and forth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember those when you go to small town. Yeah. And the funny thing was, is down there in Florida, people don't realize how big the state of Florida is until you travel all the way around. What was the name of that race? And we called that run after that race.
I can't remember.
Because a bunch of us coaches, we all follow each other. It's all around the whole state of Florida.
Yeah.
We drank a few malt beverages during that time, I think. That told some good football stories.
For sure. There was one fair we were at. I lost Bill. He went into there was a little place next door. And I'm like, where'd Bill? No.
Yeah, we lost Sturdy too, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
We had some good times, man. I mean, don't forget because you travel, you're in your hotel, and then you're back on the road the next day going to the next fair. Then you get the information, and you meet all the kids, and down the road again.
I tell my coaches that all the time. I almost wish some more would do that again. Yeah, they still might do it in Florida, but now with the signing days and early signing days, I don't know if it's as big as it was.
Because it was right after signing day, and they would do this thing, give these kids all a chance. And you'd start in Miami, you'd work up to Tampa, and work all the way to Jacksonville, leave. Yeah.
I'm with. I was just telling the story the other day, but so we're in Miami, trying to go to find Miami Pace High School. That's where the fair was at the first day.
Yeah, right.
And here's me. I'm barely left the Midwest ever in my life, and grew up in a small town. Shannon grew up in a small town, and we're trying to find this place. No GPS, no phone telling you where to turn.
No,
you literally got a printout or a map.
Yes, you did. We all had them in our cars.
From Yahoo. Yeah. And he'd stop on the side of the road, and obviously roll down my window, and I got to ask these people for directions. Right, so we're going the wrong direction. So what do? He pulls up. He's like, "Ask this guy." I'm like, "Why don't you ask him?" Ask this guy. Gives us points in the other direction. Finally, we're driving around. I'm like, "Coach, there's a fire station right there. No, let's pull in and let's ask." And he goes, "Oh yeah, you're down the road here about a mile on the right hand side." He's like, "I just want to give you guys a little bit of advice. Around here, I would just recommend when you come to a stoplight that your windows are up and doors are locked." Here I am asking for directions the whole time.
Oh, I knew he's making you roll down the window. But so I'm no coach. Respect him, think the world of him. He's a dang good football coach. And we've talked a lot of football a lot of years, and I'm so proud of what you've done here, Coach. Starting this from ground zero, and it's a wonderful program. It's one of the nice things I can say in the Midwest. It's cool. You don't always see something like this where we're at. It's cool. You've done a heck of a job doing it. Appreciate it. Well, we're going to sign off today. We really appreciate Coach Strohmeier and everybody having us out here at Iowa Western. You all have a wonderful day, and Ball with Bill says thank you.